Is there a better sound in all of the world? Okay. Still really hot. Bam! Chocolate cake! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Birdseeds, the YouTube channel dedicated to anything and everything St. Louis Cardinals, or at least St. Louis and or baseball adjacent, which is more like what this video is today. I am Tara Wellman. If we have not met, hello. Thank you for being here. Be sure to check things out around this place and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want more like game recaps and series previews or more reviews of things like this. My goal is always to keep you in the loop and entertained. So today I am going to give you more information about the Primos Cafecito coffee line from José Martínez and Primos Coffee. Now, if you've been around for a while, I did a review of the Primos Cafecito coffee earlier in the spring, right after it launched, and I love it. I am obsessed. But they have two roasts, a medium roast and a dark roast. I ordered the medium roast the first time, tried it, loved it, but I had several people ask me about the dark roast, tell me they tried the dark roast and they loved it, so I naturally had to try the dark roast as well and give you my thoughts. I will link the first review in this video as well as in the description, so you can go back and check out a little bit of the background information I gave in that video. But premium Arabica bean coffees, one is medium, one is dark roast. The principle behind the two is that the light roast gives you more of the flavor of the actual coffee beans. Dark roast tends to give you more of the flavor and the style of the roasting process. I tend to be more of a medium to light roast girl, but I'm gonna give the dark roast a try and let you know what I think. So, first things first. I want to show you the difference in what the beans look like because you can tell right away that there is in fact a difference. I ordered the whole bean coffee. You can, by the way, order it ground. You can also order it in single serving cups. So if you're like a Keurig or something like that, you can order the Primos Cafecito line from Primos Coffee in these single serving cups. So this is the dark roast. This is the medium roast. And I want to show you the difference. First of all, let me show you the packaging. Of course, the José Martínez autograph and image with his number, Primos Coffee and Cafecito, and you can get the little description on the back. Talks about the family farm in Nicaragua where the coffee is grown and some of their story in conjunction with José Martínez. Now, I'm going to show you the medium roast beans first. You can see the difference right away. I'm going to try to get a close-up of this so that you can see it. These are the medium roast beans. Nice and light colored, not too much oil going on, and they smell amazing. A little earthy, a little bit of sweetness. So good. Okay, now for the dark roast. So you would expect the darker color, but I hope you can see the shine as well. You can definitely see a little more oiliness, and that comes in the typical dark roast. That's part of the difference. Let me show you side by side, and hopefully you can see the difference on camera. Give me a few more. Dark roast, darker in color, a little shinier. Medium roast, lighter color, not so shiny. Okay, the dark roast has a much stronger, sharper scent, a little more spice as opposed to the soft sweetness of the medium roast. Still has that earthiness. It's still great, but there's a definite spice and a little bit more richness. It's like if you have two versions of chocolate cake, right? And one of them is a light, fluffy, nice texture, just like the perfect light chocolate cake. And one of them is like triple chocolate, dark chocolate frosting, intense chocolate cake. That's to me what the difference is. One is a very, very delectable, light deliciousness, and the other one is like, bam, chocolate cake. That's what the difference is between these two beans to me. So let's make some coffee now and taste test it. Okay, while I wait for the coffee to finish, I want to tell you about a couple of things. First of all, let's talk about José Martínez and his home country of Venezuela. If you pay even a little bit of attention to the news, I'm sure you've heard about the crisis that is ongoing in that country. Well, we often watch these baseball games and these players and we see how they act on the field and we know that they're playing a game for a living and there's lots of money involved and we think, wow, they must live a pretty charmed life. There was a piece written recently by Scott Miller about the 7.7% of Major League Baseball players that was based on, I think, opening day rosters this year that are Venezuelan born, and how that charmed life doesn't exist for them because the ongoing crisis in Venezuela has their attention all the time. Read the piece by Scott Miller. It will rock your world, if nothing else. I will link it in the description below, but it really just gives this dramatic perspective to the fact that these players who appear to be living the dream are constantly in fear of what's happening in their home country, what's happening to their family and friends who don't have food, who don't have access to clean water, who can't get medication if they need it, and who become targets in some cases because their family members are wealthy Major League Baseball players. It's a mind-boggling scenario to try to imagine dealing with. So in light of all of that, and thanks to my good friends at Primos, I was able to send a message to Jose and really just ask, what do you want people to know that they can do to help this situation in your home country? And the message from Jose is this: at least 50% of the coffee profits are going back to that cause as far as buying food, buying supplies, buying medication for children in hospitals in Venezuela that are sorely understaffed and undersupplied. So buy yourself some delicious coffee. If you're a medium roast fan, I highly recommend it. If you're a dark roast fan, we're about to find out. But either way, you can buy the Primos Cafecito line from Primos Coffee, and 50% of those profits will go back to those in need in the country of Venezuela by way of José Martínez. Drink some good coffee, do a little good in the world with it. Can't beat that. Okay, coffee is done. Let's do it. I can already tell you the scent of the brewed coffee is a bit sharper, a bit stronger, as one might expect from a darker roasted coffee. But let's go ahead and try this bad boy. Is there a better sound in all of the world? Alrighty then. Okay, it's definitely stronger as far as more of a bold scent. Keep in mind that super triple chocolate, dark chocolate cake that I talked about earlier, right? It's that kind of thing, but not with the overabundance of sugar, right? It's not an, oh, this is way too much kind of chocolate. It's just like, whoa, chocolate. Let's give it a taste. Okay, still really hot. One thing about a darker roast for me is that I always feel like it kind of settles more, the flavor really hits you in the back of the throat, on the back of your tongue. It's not super acidic. It's not sharp in a bitter sense. It still has that really robust, very bold flavor that isn't too much. It still has some of those subtle tones that give that earthiness, a little bit of the maybe dark chocolate, not just because of the cake metaphor, but some of that dark chocolatey richness without being that bitter, acidic taste that sometimes a darker roast coffee can have. It's good though. Actually, what I did earlier was brew some of the medium roast so that I could compare it directly to the dark roast. So I'm gonna get that. Okay. Just as a reminder, the difference in the coffee beans, I still have some of them sitting out in front of me here. I want to just show you one at a time. So, not sure if this will focus. on this up close, but hopefully you can see the difference in those two coffee beans. This obviously the dark roast, this being the light roast. That is what we're comparing. Dark roast, definitely a little richer, certainly stronger, hits you in the back of the mouth a little bit, has more subtle undertones that sort of build up that boldness without being sharp and acidic. Definitely lighter, definitely get a little more of the spice, which I can only imagine comes from the bean itself, and it has a little more of an edge than the deep smoothness of the dark roast, but in a way that, again, isn't overpowering, and it just feels a little less like the triple chocolate cake versus the light and airy chocolate cake with milk chocolate frosting. Okay, I did have one person ask me if it's true that lighter roast has more caffeine content than darker roast. I gotta be honest, I had to do a little research on this because I've heard both things. I think people tend to think that a darker roast has more caffeine content. Some people, though, think that the roasting process actually sucks out some of the caffeine, for lack of a better term. Turns out neither of those things is really true. It's a bit more complicated and more scientific than that. So let me try to break this down very simply. In the roasting process, the actual chemical makeup, the caffeine count in each bean doesn't change. They're not roasted at a high enough temperature to really break down the caffeine. So that doesn't change. However, what does change is the mass and the density of the beans. As I understand it, in the roasting process though, much of the water is stripped out of the bean, and in doing so, the lighter roasted beans actually become more dense than the darker roasted beans, meaning essentially there's more bang for your buck in a light roast bean. So equal amounts of beans by measurement, volume in some sort of container, will give more caffeine for a light roast pot of coffee. Measurement by weight, however, will give you more caffeine out of a darker roast because there's actually more beans in the makeup of that weight. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that answers your question. As for me, I now have entirely too much coffee for one human being to consume, but you know I can't just let it sit there, so I'm gonna be up all night editing this, probably, at this rate. Let me know, though, in the comments below if you have tried both the medium and the dark roast. Let me know which one you like the best, because I gotta say, it's still a bit of a toss-up for me. And don't forget that 50% of the profits from this coffee will go to children in need in Venezuela, providing them with food, with medical supplies, and with medicine itself to hospitals in Venezuela. Thanks to the one and only St. Louis Cardinal, José Martínez. Get your coffee, do you some good. Cheers. Until next time.